Thank you for the support over on Patreon, Jesus Pharaoh. With 2019 come and gone, in this new year we can officially look back with 2020 vision to see in hindsight all the things that could have been. And when it comes to professional wrestling, like every year, there was a whole lot of speculation as to what almost happened but never did. However, now that we know how things turned out, some of these speculatory scenarios might have been better alternatives. Now, it is hard to tell how events are going to unfold, but there is one thing that I can definitely tell you is going to happen for sure, and it's that this is going to be the topic of this episode, because today, Dave knows 7 rumors that should have happened in 2019. Before we begin, let me start by saying make sure that you are still subscribed to this channel and that your notifications are working so that you don't miss out on any of the content right here on Dave Knows Wrestling. And with that out the way, let's get into the episode. Who attacked Roman Reigns? The Who Attacked Roman Reigns storyline was one that had a lot of missed potential. Once the revealing started to begin, we went into a complete Russo-esque level of nonsense, culminating its absurdity with an Eric Rowan doppelganger under a hood. Which was all the more reason why WWE would probably have been better capping this feud off by showing that it was really Daniel Bryan behind the attack all along. While there were other possible suspects for consideration, from the Revival to Buddy Murphy, it was the Planet's champion that was the best option. For me, the reason why I think this is so is that Bryan really would have benefited from this treacherous act. Personally, I'm a big believer in solidifying top heel status for a wrestler when they have it, and Bryan definitely was the big bad over on SmackDown at that time. And by making him the focal point of this piece of heelery, it would have done him much better justice than just making him a tag-along to Eric Rowan's master plan. And it also would have given him something to do after losing the title to Kofi Kingston. Now yes, Eric Rowan did get a bit of a rub when he got a win over Roman Reigns as a result, and this also served as a segue to turn D-Bry face again. However, I don't think it really takes all that much to turn Daniel Bryan back into a good guy, since fans just want to cheer him anyway. Furthermore, I feel that big men really shouldn't be the ones orchestrating sneaky behind the back attacks, as that's something far better reserved for smaller wrestlers. But speaking of Daniel Bryan's size, Daniel Bryan to 205 Live or NXT. There were rumors circulating that WWE was considering making a play to vamp up 205 Live. And when Daniel Bryan said that he had a major career announcement, many people began to suspect that he would be retiring. However, there were also those who thought that he might be announcing that he was going to be switching brands. And some of these rumors even said that WrestleMania might be going to save the floundering cruiserweight division. Now, I'm not saying that this should have been a permanent move. I'm just saying that a little bit of star power might have gone a long way for a show that might as well have been cancelled, especially since Bryan's announcement turned out to be nothing. In addition, we could even apply the same mentality to Finn Balor, who ended up going to NXT, but just as easily could have been a part of 205 Live. And while we're talking about NXT, Daniel Bryan could have also been sent there as well, which also would have been a good get for WWE's third brand. And while I do think that he serves as good fodder for The Fiend, I would really rather have seen D-Bry give some attention to those other shows temporarily before coming back to SmackDown as a newly renewed babyface. Bullet Club in WWE. And continuing with almost going to NXT, we could have finally seen WWE's makeshift Bullet Club done correctly, with Finn Balor at long last joining up with Doc Gallows and other former Bullet Club leaders, AJ Styles and Carl Anderson. And yes, Carl Anderson was a leader of the Bullet Club, so many people tend to forget that. Anyway, WWE has teased this for a while now, and with AJ Styles reportedly retiring in a couple of years after his contract is up, this may have been their only time to make this super team a reality. And when AJ turned heel over on Raw and Finn turned heel on NXT, there was chatter that these were the seeds being planted to create this all-star Bullet Club, but it never happened. This matchup could have happened on any show, Raw or SmackDown, and it could have also been a cross-branded faction with the members scattered across different shows. But the biggest appeal for this, if it did happen in NXT, would of course being able to see a showdown between the Bullet Club and the Undisputed Era, especially now that the UE found their footing with the whole team wearing gold. Maria's pregnancy. For some reason, Mike Bennett signed with WWE and became Mike Kanellis. Now, he never really fit what WWE typically go for, so it's no wonder that his run with the company has been so lackluster. However, despite that, he would end up re-signing with WWE yet again, only to end up asking for his release several months later. But during this time, there was a storyline involving Mike's real-life wife Maria being pregnant, but the storyline would continue with the father of the baby being completely unclear. Very temporarily, it was teased teased to be Rusev, but as it turns out, the only connection there would be is that the whole infidelity angle between a real-life married couple would just transfer from Mike and Maria to Rusev and Lana. Oh, and it was also teased that Ricochet might be the one and only father of the baby too. However, since none of that came into fruition, who should the father have been? Well, while it was never shown on air, there were rumors circulating that WWE was going to tease various fathers for weeks, with the angle ultimately concluding with Maury Povich doing one of his famed paternity tests on Raw, and eventually revealing that the father was a non-WWE celebrity. So why would I be rooting for this with my known distaste for celebrities wrestling? Well, the reason why I was rooting for this one is that with last year's influx of outsiders like Cain Velasquez, at least this would have been a way of scratching WWE's celebrity itch without putting any of them in a high-profile match, because I'd much rather find out that Tyson Fury is the father of Maria's kid than watch him try and wrestle. Pac versus Paige. Pac versus Paige for the AEW champion was a long brewing rumor hinted at ever since AEW's press conference. Fans had speculated that the two's exchange was leading to a match to crown the promotion's inaugural champion, and they were penciled in to square off at Double or Nothing. But before this feud could even culminate in championship gold, this initial bout was scratched from the pay-per-view entirely. The two did have a match at WrestleGate Pro about a week before their scheduled bout at the pay-per-view, which ended in disqualification and was followed up by Pac immediately attacking Paige's knee and saying that he no longer had any reason to show up at Double or Nothing now that he's dispatched the Hangman. Now for the interesting part of this equation. The reason why this never went down is allegedly because of creative differences. Rumor has it that the former Adrian Neville was slated to win the title in a match against Paige. So far so good, right? Well, the problem as Pac saw it was that allegedly, not long after winning it, he was supposed to drop the title to Kenny Omega, and it was reported that since Pac was holding a Dragon Gate championship and AEW promised that wins and losses would matter, he felt that losing to Omega would lessen his Dragon Gate title. One might I add that he's already lost. But regardless as to whether or not this is true, I do feel that this rumor might have been for the better, as I do think that it looked really bad that AEW's first major storyline angle was scrapped before it really ever got a chance to get started on AEW TV. And I also feel that Omega was the right guy to hold that title, that is before he ended up losing to Chris Jericho at Double or Nothing. John Cena versus Kurt Angle. Make no bones about it, I have been quite clear about my feelings on Baron Corbin, and what only added to my list of issues with him is his role in Kurt Angle's retirement match at WrestleMania 35. Like many fans, I felt that this was such a terrible way to send off the Olympic gold medalist. Even worse still, since it really hasn't done Corbin any favors. But before this match was even announced, there were rumors galore as to who would be the one to get the honor of being Kurt Angle's final opponent, with names such as Rey Mysterio, AJ Styles, and Samoa Joe all getting mentioned as possible candidates. However, the one I most wanted to see, which I am not alone on, would have been John Cena. Now, as a bonus rumor, Cena was reportedly in the works to get a program with Lars Sullivan that was supposed to conclude with the two facing off at WrestleMania, but because of Lars suffering from an anxiety attack, this never happened. But that should have just cleared things up in order to have Cena face Angle, which would have been a very nice way to bring things around full circle, as Cena made his main roster debut against Kurt. But instead, we were saddled with this Corbin debacle. Although Cena did manage to bring things back, but to his old Thuganomics gimmick and not with an actual match, and also not by sending Kurt Angle off in what would have been a very poetic ending. And finally, while CM Punk has made his return to a WWE television show with WWE Backstage, there were many rumors this year as of what could have been, as Punk was rumored to be making a comeback in all sorts of ways, with some people even pegging him to return to the Fox debut of SmackDown, and others were guessing that he would show up at the Survivor Series, which was held in the Chicago area. However, speaking of near Chicago pay-per-views, if I could only choose one rumor to have been true, it wouldn't have been for Punk to return to WWE at all. Instead, I would have much rather have seen Punk appear on AEW's All Out. As the voice of the voiceless and the voice of anti-WWE sentiment, Punk showing up for the alternative company in his hometown area would have been a wonderful wrestling moment, and it might have even been the very edge that AEW would need to stay on top of their competition. Instead, Punk's willingness to work in a WWE adjacent program not only made AEW look bad, since Punk rather have gone to Backstage than to All Elite, but also because AEW had been low-key teasing the idea despite not being able to deliver. Well, there you have it, 7 rumors that I thought should have happened in 2019. But what are some that you thought should have happened? Let me know down in the comments. And again, a big thank you to Jesus Farrow for the support over on Patreon. Hope you guys are having a happy new year, and as always, Dave knows.